Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Darren and I'm responsible for marketing and recruitment at ISS. And today we are here for the webinar session for the Agrarian Food and Environmental Study major. With me today is Camila, a current student, and Sergio is also a current student. Camila is from Peru and Sergio is from Colombia. And also the convener or course leader for this major, Julian Francois Gerber, is also present here today to give you a summary of what this Agrarian Food and Environmental Studies major is all about. So without further ado, I would like to pass on the floor to Julian. Julian, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Darren. So hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Indeed, my name is Julian Gerber. I'm originally from Switzerland, and I've been at the ISS for about 6 years now. I'm the AFES convener. They call it the convener. It's the course leader of the entire major. And I'm also teaching here in political ecology and some agrarian studies as well. Camila, maybe you want to introduce yourself, and then Sergio?
Yeah, sure. I'm Camila. I'm from Peru. Yeah, I'm focusing my research in digital agriculture at the moment in the AFES program. And really excited to meet you all.
Hello, my name is Sergio Carvajal. I'm also an AFES student. Currently, I'm focusing my interest in issues of global political economy and like land grabbing and issues related with conflict as well.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll start with some broader information a bit on the program here at the ISS. So the master program you would enroll in is a little bit longer than some of the programs, for example, offered in the UK or in the US. It lasts for 15.5 months. And then you end up with this master in development studies within the major if you take AFES, Agrarian Food and Environmental Studies, but you can pick also other majors out there. They are listed here on the slide. And the advantage of having a master a little bit longer than a full year is that it gives you more room for your own research. And that's really one of the strengths and one of the unique points of this master. And I'll get back to that later. The key feature of the program, I think, here at the ISS, like AFES and also the other ones, it's really this incredible international and diverse learning environment that you delve into and that you engage with. We literally have like students from all over the world, and that's really, it creates this kind of unique, I think, atmosphere here and learning experience in the institute. That's I think the first point. Many students mention it, and I don't know if Camila or Sergio agree or have anything to add to that at this point.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that it's something that has been really impressive in my experience, to being able to share with so many people from many different places, and like the people that I have met, it's people that are very much involved in the political and social issues of each country, and I think that definitely makes it a very particular student community that is very enriching and inspiring.
Yeah, if I can also add,
sure.
I definitely agree. And it's not like we have one person of each major and then one nationality that takes over the rest, but actually it's very representative. I think the 3 largest nationalities in our major are Indonesia, Ghana, and Colombia, which says something about it. that is very decentralized, and also it allows you to also read material from different countries. I think the syllabus are also very diverse. It's the first time I've been reading so many authors from Latin America, Africa, Asia. So I think it takes away from this typical thing where studies are usually very Eurocentric, which I appreciate a lot.
Thanks. And I think another characteristic, the one I just mentioned, is like this long time you have to carry out your own like original research. We call it the research paper. It's actually another name for the master's thesis, if you want, right? It's your own research then, and that is translated into a text that then you submit, and it becomes your master's thesis. We call it the research paper, RP. And then I think the third point would be this constant integration of like theory, so social sciences, right? It's like it would be a program in social sciences above all, but also the link with like the application of what we're learning, whether it is in the forms of practice, policies, or politics, right? So there is always this attention to what are the practical implication of what we're teaching. And then now if I focus more on this major, AFES, what is it all about? I think one way of defining it is to say that it's really interdisciplinary, first of all, and the idea is to really understand and also confront, right, the impact of what we could call maldevelopment, right, the shortcomings of what has been called development, right, and all the impacts on the agrarian sphere, the rural sphere, but also on the environment. And we study these processes by looking at different levels. We look at the global level, right? In the, for example, in the questions of climate change, but also we look at the impacts of government agencies, but also grassroots mobilizations, and also the private sector. So we constantly go back at shift from one level to another, between the local, the national, but also the international level. So we have these two kind of overlapping focuses. On one hand, the rural sphere, and on the other hand, the environment. And on the rural side, on agrarian change, right, we look at how the countryside is transformed, changes by these processes called development or modernization, right, or capitalism. We look at the role of markets when they enter into the countryside. What happened? What happened on livelihood? What happened on farming systems, right? How to improve, right? What's happening also. But first of all, we need to understand what are the problems, what are the dynamics there, what are the root causes. And so we look at different challenges that now the countryside is facing. Typically, questions like land grabbing. We look at how agriculture is evolving towards more financialization, digitalization. We look at alternative coming from the countryside, like food sovereignty movements and things like that. And on the environmental side, we look at all these major crises we're facing today. First of all, climate change, but not only, right? We look at the way resources are being managed, how movement resist, confront these different impacts. So environmental politics as well. We try to better understand what is meant by sustainable development. Is it just a buzzword, like empty of meaning, or has it really been used for more sustainability? So we're not afraid also to look at much more radical options than just sustainable development. So we look at to what extent industrialized country also need now to move towards post-growth alternatives. So we look also at this emerging field of degrowth, for example. in a nutshell, right? The kind of stuff we're studying, we're looking at. Was it kind of complete, Camila and Sergio? Anything else that comes to your mind that I should have mentioned? All good?
It sounds like good to me.
So yeah, in a nutshell. And then in terms of disciplines, so we have this strong focus on political economy defined in a broad sense, right? So it's not economics, right? But it's like looking at the economy and at power relations within the economy, at institutions, at the market, at capitalism, at how the political economy influences, right, the rural sphere and the environment. And so this approach also leads us to look at, to use political ecology, but we also have colleagues focusing on gender and feminist studies. Very broadly, we could say we look at agrarian, we use agrarian studies and environmental studies. And again, this constant kind of balance between theory, policy, politics, and practice. Okay, so that's for the content. And now I'll come briefly to the structure of the major. So you can see on the slide that we have these 4 terms. The first term is divided in 2 parts, A and B. So when you arrive in August, you would start with this introduction with 3 foundation courses that gives you the fundamentals in economics, in sociology, and in political science. And in parallel, you will follow this general course that all the students of the institute will have to take. It's called the Making of Development. I will be actually leading this general course in the coming fall. And then second part of term 1, you have your first AFES course. We call it the core course. And this one gives you also the basics of AFES. And it's a kind of teaser that like offers you this foundation of things that will be later on dealt with in a deeper way. Then term 2 and term 3, you can pick your own, well, actually in AFES, you have to take two courses. I'll mention them in the next slide. But then you can also pick optional course, usually 1, sometimes 2, and the research technique courses. And this will help you carrying out your research in the summer for your RP. And then term 4 is fully devoted to the writing and the research of your RP. So this core course of AFES, the one in term 1, right, is called the Political Economy of Agriculture and the Environment. That's this foundational AFES course. Then term 2, you have to take these 2 courses, Global Political Ecology and Politics of Agrarian Transformation. One more on the agrarian side, the other more on the environmental side. And then term 3, it's optional. I mentioned that one on the Water Justice Lab, but you can take other ones. Okay, quick look at the core faculty members in AFES. So these are the teaching staff you will have. These 8 people, 4 of them are a bit more on the environmental side, perhaps, and 4 are perhaps more on the rural side. On the environmental side, you have Professor Wendy Harcourt. She's originally from Australia. She is working in feminist political ecology, among many other things. You have Dr. Luisa Cortesi, who is originally from Italy, and she works on water issue, water political ecology, but she is an environmental anthropologist by training. You have Professor Murat Arsel, originally from Turkey, and he specializes in extractivism in Latin America, but also the Middle East. and he leads the course Global Political Ecology. And you have myself, perhaps I'm perhaps more on the political ecology side. I work on debt. That's not really linked to political ecology, actually. Debt indebtedness, including rural indebtedness. I work on degrowth and on social movements. And then on the agrarian side, you have Professor June Boras, originally from the Philippines, who is who launched a number of thematics in the field, and like land grabbing, like food sovereignty. He's a founding member of La Via Campesina, for example. So very active in the field of agrarian studies. You have Dr. Onne Visser, who is also an anthropologist by training, but he's originally from the Netherlands, and he works also on different issues, including land grabbing in Central Asia and Eastern Europe, but also beyond. You have Dr. Elena Perez Nino, who joined us recently, originally from Colombia. She works also on agrarian change, on labor, questions of labor in Southern Africa and Latin America. And then also Dr. Tsegaye Moreda, originally from Ethiopia, also working on land grabbing and different issues in Africa and elsewhere. So that's in a nutshell the team. But there's other members that regularly come and also give lectures. There's Professor Ben White, who is emeritus here, Lorenzo Pellegrini, who is an ecological economist here in the Institute, or Christina Satyamala, who regularly also give lectures here and courses. All right, so what about the teaching approach? We try to make use of this diversity we have, right? We see that as an incredible richness. So by also asking the students to share about their experiences from different parts of the world during the lectures, try to use this cultural diversity. So we tend to have kind of participatory lectures with a lot of discussions, as much as possible. Since the classes are usually small, it's very easy to talk to the teachers and to have an appointment with them, to meet with them, to talk about questions seen in class. We also have a number of study visits in AFES, including a field trip. So the students, sometimes it's organized by the students, sometimes by the staff. We went to places as diverse as the south of France or Barcelona or Romania. This year, the students are going to Italy. And during these trips, they kind of like see in reality, right, some of the topics we've been discussing in class. So these are usually very nice, very important experiences also. And then you have a lot of space to work on your own interest, to really go deep into what you're passionate about. Camila, Sergio, any thought on the teaching approach? Any experience there? You can speak freely.
Thank you. No, I would like to add to this part of the teaching approach, something that I have liked a lot about the courses is like to have the possibility to engage with the knowledge that we are rigorously engaging with in other ways. So, for example, the possibility of reflecting through the field trip in a particular case, but also during the classes to have the possibility of reading sometimes literature or like other kind of material that can help us to reflect about what we are learning in different ways, and not just like through the standard academic while remaining academically rigorous. I think that that is something that I have liked a lot from the experience.
Yeah, and to add to that, we've had a lot of activities also that have allowed us to reflect on it. We talked about this anarchist group from Mexico during one of our classes. We read about them, and then they ended up visiting the institute. We volunteered to organize, and we had incredible conversations. I don't think this is something I expected at all, and it was outstanding. I'm sure like the exact same group will not come next year, but I think there's a lot of these kind of things that keep happening in the institute that really allow you to do more than just attend class. And also there's a lot of freedom. I think our different experiences within the program have been quite different. You can approach a lot of professors. I think there's definitely a professor that has done some work in what you're interested on. And professors are really approachable. You can just set up a meeting and talk about their research, bounce ideas of what you're doing, and I think there's a lot of interest in your work, which is really such a privilege because you're working with some really incredible scholars. I'm going into topics that there's professors that have been writing books about, you know. So I really appreciate that's that part. And also we have committees that explore other things. I'm really interested in art, and we were able to organize a trip to Paris to go to a workshop recently. So that these kind of things also keep happening where you have the opportunity to explore different interests. So that's really nice.
Nice, thank you. And if we look now at these RPs, right, these topics of research, here are a few examples you can see on the slide, and it can be linked to what we've seen in class, of course, and most of the RPs are, but you can also go outside. You can you really have a lot of freedom in the topics you pick, and of course, the idea is to find a supervisor among the staff, you know, that can nourish, you know, really your interests and can really help you with the content also. But it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from AFES also. It can be somebody, you can look at the institute at large. So you have a lot of freedom there. And I think really that's one of the beauties of this program. And then a lot of time also, and you're encouraged to do field work. And we have also small fieldwork grants that we give each year to some of the students to help them, you know, in their field research. I think the fieldwork is a very important part of the RP, right? It should not just be desk-based. It can, if you want, you could also do a purely theoretical RP, but it's kind of rare, and it's also perhaps more difficult to go purely theoretical, right? And there is something really enriching about the fieldwork. So this is a component very much encouraged. There's a specialization. I'm not sure it's a very crucial slide here, but you can actually get even another specialization if you want, and you can decide not to have any specialization at all. You can pick a specialization outside the major if it works with the criteria. But you can have our own specialization called environment and sustainable development. So it gives you this extra kind of stamp on your diploma that shows that you have a special knowledge on questions of sustainability. The AFES community, so I think we talked already quite a bit about that. So lots of activities in the institute, lots of events and places and occasions to meet. There are like cultural festivals, there are food festivals, there are all kinds of things. We have even a little cafe bar in the institute, you know, that is usually kind of like the social center of the institute, where faculty go, students go, and we sometimes stay in the evening there, even during the week, and it's usually a good place of exchange in a very informal way. Like Sergio and Camila were saying, there is also a strong research component, right? So you, depending on your plan, if you want to pursue with a PhD, right? Or if you are into academic research, you'd have a lot of like churn there and a lot of possible outlets also for publication. There's these 3 big journals here that are closely associated with the ISS. Development and Change, it's one of the world leading journal in development studies, and it's anchored at the ISS. The Journal of Peasant Studies, that's ranked #1 in anthropology. For a long time, it was #1 in development as well. I think now it's #3. Not that these rankings are necessarily so useful, but it gives you an idea of like the influence still, I think, of a given journal. So a very influential journal, and the editor-in-chief is Professor June Boras that I mentioned before. And the Journal of Agrarian Change also, we have editors of the journal that are at the ISS. There's Elena Perez Niños, there was Chris Kay, who is an emeritus professor here. So there's strong linkages between AFES and these 3 journals. And more than that, there's a series in Routledge in rural livelihood. There is a series in critical agrarian studies. And we have these wonderful little books here. They're copied there at the bottom of the page. There are many more than that now. It's like short books on a key issue, and you have like a summary of the key, the area by leading authors, and they cover political ecology or agrarian studies. And if you want a short overview of one of those questions, it's a great starting point. And many of those small books also cover topics that are among the main topics discussed in AFES. Okay, so these are the links. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Julian, Camila, and Sergio, for providing such detailed information about the the major in Agrarian. So to all the viewers, if you have any questions, you can already ask them in the chat, but I will get the ball rolling. I have some questions that may be interesting for the viewers. Now, maybe this is a question for the students, so Camila and Sergio, about the teaching method and also the class environment. Maybe you can explain a little bit, like, how is it? Is it assignments, a lot of readings, or how is it like? Camila, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be very blunt about it, but basically we have an online portal, and you check it before every class. Basically, you organize yourself and you have assigned readings before every lecture. You can do the lectures before, so you can prepare. You have some questions, you have something to add to the session. And then every session, basically, you'll have a lecturer that's an expert in the topic and will have a lecture prepared. They will talk for most of the time, and then we'll open the floor for questions or comments. You can interrupt at any point, but I think most people just prefer to, at the end, have a discussion. There's topics that are more open to discussions than others. But if you have a particular experience on it, you can definitely add or answer your peers' questions or raise an issue that wasn't covered in the session. We have very diverse sessions also, even in the same course. So for example, I took a class last term that was on neoliberalization, and the first half of the course was very theory based, but then the second half we had different lecturers every week coming to, or every session coming to talk about different regions or different topics they had covered under these theories. And you even have courses that are even more diverse. So I think that's how I would see it. Also, the evaluation is usually one or two papers, maybe two papers for most courses that you just do at either half and at the end or something like this. That reflect on the top on the material covered, but you have a lot of freedom to go into whichever topic you're interested in. And usually what happens is that allows you to go into the topic you're interested from the beginning or explore some topics, but then find your way to your research paper. So it's not like you have to start when you start your research paper, but you can start uncovering and reading about it and getting feedback on it from the beginning. So that's really interesting.
Thank you, Camila. Anything to add, Sergio?
No, I think that Camila says is very, yeah, it's very, I agree completely. I think that one of the main advantages is also the chance you have to be so free about what issues you like and would you like to explore. And I think that that's definitely something that is very useful.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. Okay, so there is a question for Camila and Sergio. Your motivation for joining AFES, and what is your focus for your future after you have completed this major? Camila, you can go first.
Okay, that's a tough question. I always kind of, I was always involved in development topics. I took classes on it from my bachelor's, and I was sure I wanted to do development, but I didn't know which approach. And then I did some work in agriculture, which I knew I had this kind of focus, but I started reading before applying to the program, and I found the word critical somewhere. And then that became my big criteria when looking for a master's program. Critical program, because I wanted to really understand the big picture, you know. I was working with development organizations, but I didn't know how are they linked to other organizations, why were they getting funds by different actors, what was putting it all together. And I think here I had the big chance to explore that big picture. What I want to do afterwards, that's a thing that keeps evolving. Right now, I'm hoping to work in an NGO right after, but hopefully apply for a PhD at some point. But that's what I say today. Let's see.
Okay, Sergio.
Yeah, I think that the critical one of the main reasons why I decided to came to ISS was because I was like, for my bachelor thesis, I was exploring issues of critical agrarian studies, and also because it was like a field of knowledge that was like very in contact with social movements, with political movements. So I think that definitely is something that I appreciated a lot about ISS, and it's the political relevance, like the conscience of the political relevance of the knowledge that we produce and that we explore. And I decided to look for that, and I think that is something that I have found also in the student community, in the teaching staff. So that's been very, very positive. On my future engagement, I think that I would like to become a researcher. I would like to develop maybe advocacy and engage research. So I think that ISS brings me the opportunities and the tools, like provides me with the tools, with the theoretical, methodological tools to approach and to work on that career. And that is something that I have liked so far.
Thank you, Sergio and Camila, for the explanation. Maybe something for Julian, a question for me about taking different majors, subjects, sorry, in other majors. Are you allowed to do it? And also, can you a little bit explain about specialization and how important or to specialize or not to specialize? And also, do you have to write your thesis if you choose a specialization or not? Maybe you can explain that a little bit to the viewers.
So in term 3, so in the spring, you can indeed take courses from other majors. But in AFES, it's a little bit different than the other major in the sense that there is these 3 compulsory courses in term 2. So in the winter that you have to take. One more on political ecology, one more agrarian studies. But after that, you can pick courses anywhere in the institute, up to 2. Regarding specialization, yeah. So I honestly, it's not so difficult to get it. So you just have to have one RP, to have your own research that is targeted at environmental question in a broad sense. And if you have that, and if you have the 2 compulsory courses that you have to take anywhere, right, you can have the specialization in environment and sustainable development.
Okay, thanks, Julian. And viewers, please note that specialization is not a must; it's an option. So you can, or you don't need to, but you can if you want. And if you do it, remember your research paper or your thesis has to be based on the specialization that you have chosen. So keep that in mind, please. Okay, thanks, Julian. Also, there's another question about research topic. Do you need to know the research topic already at the beginning of the course, or does it come to you during your study at ISS? The students or Julian can go. Can say something about it.
I think this is something that freaked me out a lot before joining the program, and because I had no idea really. But you definitely don't need to have a topic for your RP. At least this is what I've experienced. A lot of our peers didn't. And it usually comes to you through the work, because you're reading so much, you realize what you're interested in, what kind of feedback you get. And most people figure out their research topic, I think, during the 2nd term. And then you start focusing on it. Some people are also really lucky and they already know what they want to do from the beginning, and most people change their approaches to it during the time here. But I don't think you need to worry about having something straight up, because this is a really great chance to explore new topics, to read more, to learn new things, and then choose from there.
Yeah, thanks, Camila. Also remember, what I hear from a lot of our current students is if you have a research topic in mind before you come to ISS, there is a very high chance that will change because you'll be challenged at ISS, and everything that you know, you have to sometimes throw it away, and then you have to come up with a different kind of research questions and so on. Oh, Julian, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's even better if you don't come with a research question. You just come open, you know.
Yeah, so it's a good tip. So keep that in mind as well. Any kind of preparation before joining this major? Maybe Julian, you can answer that.
So I'll send a welcome kind of email for all the prospective students in the summer, and there's a few tips. There's a few. I think there's 2 publications that like people can start reading if they want, you know, just to have a feel of like what we will talk about, and maybe to be familiar with some of the concepts, but not really. There's nothing compulsory that you need to do before starting, and it starts also kind of slow. The AFES, the first AFES course is only in the second part of term 1, so yeah.
Thanks, Julian. Now there is a question, last, I think, well, the final question in the chat room. It looks very complicated question. I'm just trying to summarize this question. Also, guys, Camila and Sergio and Julian, if you understand the question better because it's your major, you can also try to answer them.
Yeah, I think I could say something about it. Sorry, because of the noise that is outside here. I think that there is a variety of research methods. Like there is one block of classes that we have to see about research methods. And there is a variety of options we can choose. So you have like the more traditional and from quantitative to qualitative, but you also have like very heterodox approaches to, for example, the colonial kind of knowledge production. You also have other course of participatory action research, like also certain kinds of methodology in qualitative methods in ethnography. Well, I think there is a wide variety, and there is definitely a constant reflection on the positionality of knowledge and of knowledge production, and that is something transversal, not just in the methodology courses that sometimes are a little bit more specific, but also in the core courses, in making of development. There is a constant reflection on that.
Absolutely, yeah, very well said. Yeah.
Thanks.
Not much to add. Is maybe perhaps that, yeah, Sergio, you didn't mention also feminist methodologies, and I think that's we have like Wendy Harcourt and people in AFES also specifically working on that, and also ethnographic methods.
Yeah. Thanks, Sergio and Julian. If there are no more questions, I think we can end the webinar. But before I do that, is there anything Sergio, Camila, or Julian would like to add at all for the students to maybe mentally prepare themselves to come to ISS in September? Maybe I start with the students because Camila and Sergio, because I think it must be very stressful for you guys as well before you came to ISS, a lot of preparation and so on. Maybe you can give some 1 or 2 tips for the viewers to hear before they come to ISS in September. Camila?
Yeah, I prepared a lot, to be honest. Just choosing the program, I contacted people from all the universities I was applying to, and I had conversations. I asked what distinguishes this from another, because I wanted to make sure it was the right program for me. And I encourage everyone to do so. I am really surprised when people tell me, oh, I didn't know this was going to be this way, because I did the research, and it was important for me to have that, because I was investing all my savings, and I was, it was a big decision for me. So I encourage you to do that. Make sure that you know what makes this program so special, because there is a lot. But so yeah, do that research if you can. I have too much energy, I think, and I organized a book club before we came, and we created a WhatsApp group, and we met for like 6 weeks before coming and read the material that Julian sent us. And that was really nice to get to know our peers, and Sergio joined a couple sessions, and also get familiar with the material. Of course, you don't have to do that. it was very few of us who did this course. But I think it's such an exciting time that I think you can do all these things if you want to. And also don't stress about it because we have people from all different backgrounds. We have people from very like scientific backgrounds. We have engineers, and I studied management, and then we have philosophers and anthropologists and all kinds of backgrounds. So there's a lot of space for learning new things, and I wouldn't worry too much about knowing the specific theory or something behind things. So yeah, it's an exciting time. Congratulations already on being ready to take this journey. It's a great time.
Thanks so much, Camila. Sergio, before you go, there is a last question about how many students are there in this course currently. Julian, do you want to say something? Is it 20?
In AFES, there is 17 people, so it's a small class. And last year it was 18, and the year before it was 18 again. So it's usually a small group that we can really take care of.
Yeah. So it's normally below 20, at least for the past couple of years. Okay, Sergio, any last tips for the students before they come to ISS?
Well, something that I have liked a lot about the experience of being here is also what's beyond the specifics of the lectures, right? So also, for example, the vibrant student community, that is something that I appreciate a lot from ISS, that I think, I mean, of course, I think that every university has its own vibrant kind of community, but especially in ISS, a very politically engaged one, a very interesting one, but not just politically. It's also, as Camila was mentioning, people that are interested in arts, people that are interested in well-being in this place that it's beautiful in The Hague and in the Netherlands. That is, well, I think it's a very special place to study. Those are we are very close to the beach. That is something that particularly for me was very very interesting. Also, like to have a very nice environment to study. And yeah, I will add that to what we have said about all the academic rigor. Oh yeah, but of course also the ISS has been intense and rigorous, and we've had also like a very special experience of learning. So that's been nice as well, like having the two worlds.
Thank you, Sergio. Julian, anything to add?
I think I said it all.
Okay, fine, that's okay. So, well, there's no more questions, and we can call the webinar to an end. So thank you so much, Camila and Sergio, and also, of course, Julian, for taking time off from a busy schedule and being present here to give a good summary about the major, the AFES major. To the viewers, all of us here, we really look forward to receiving you at ISS, and we really hope that you had sufficient information and you have enough preparation time before you come to ISS in September. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. Have a pleasant day. So bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.